Hello, and welcome to another episode of 5 Year Rewind Review, a monthly review series that's 5 years late to the party. This month, I, your fearless host, am diving headfirst into one of 2016's most brutal and hardcore first-person shooters, and a return to form for possibly the most influential series in the history of video games. That's right, Doom guys and girls, I'm going to take a look at Doom 2016. Obviously, there will be spoilers ahead, so you have been warned. Hell hath no fury like a gamer exposed to spoilers. For many, especially those of a certain vintage, Doom holds a special place in the hearts, not only of first-person shooter fans, but PC and console gamers alike. Originally released on PC back in 1993, it served as a spiritual successor to the Wolfenstein series, also produced by id Software. Spawning several sequels and spin-offs, Doom helped to popularise first-person shooters, 3D environments, multiplayer LAN gaming, and modding within the gaming industry. The series would also help propel John Carmack and John Romero to near mythic status, and id Software would go on to put out such hit titles as Quake in later years. While a fourth mainline title was announced back in 2008, the fan reception to preview materials was not favourable. As a result, development shifted gears to focus on a less narrative-driven and more action-heavy experience. Released to widely positive reviews across PS4, Xbox One, PC in May of 2016, and a year and a half later on Switch, Doom was hailed by many as a return to form for the series. A quick note about versions. Originally, I played the Switch port and thought it was very good, and since then I have played a little bit of the PS4 version, and while it looks a little better, it plays very much the same as the Switch version. For this video, I am playing and reviewing the version available through Xbox Game Pass on Xbox Series S, not a sponsor. There's a bit of a knack to making a good Doom game. Lots of demons to shoot in the face, plenty of ammo, shield, and health pickups, a quick pace, and big bosses. Thankfully, I haven't strayed too far from the brief here. Everything has been dialed up to 11. The gameplay feels fast and fun. At points, it feels as though the literal hordes of hell are being thrown at you, and it's your mission to make sure each and every one of them are sent back where they came from. Now, where Doom 3 was released to widespread critical acclaim, I personally feel as though it hasn't aged particularly well from a gameplay standpoint. It feels a bit clunky at best, and at worst, while not being unplayable, it isn't an enjoyable experience today. This Doom, on the other hand, feels fast-paced, easy to pick up, and from the beginning to end feels fun. There are plenty of big action set pieces, plenty of increasingly larger and more deadly weapons on hand to turn each enemy you encounter into a mound of gore, and lots of fun platforming sections to help move the action along. id have made a concerted effort to ensure that while the arsenal on hand is effective and that you rarely run out of ammo, the two most powerful weapons in the game are best used tactically. Series mainstays, the chainsaw and BFG 9000, are the only weapons in the game that have minimal ammo pickups to make sure that the player can't just whip them out and decimate a room full of imps and cacodemons with relative ease. A new addition to the series is the ability to use glory kills to very gory effect. Deal enough damage to any enemy in the game, from the standard cannon fodder to the massive barons of hell and main bosses. As soon as an enemy begins flashing blue or orange, get in close, use a melee attack, and Doom Guy will use his bare hands to finish off the poor chump in the most brutal way. And for the compulsive collectors out there, there are all manner of collectibles to find scattered throughout the levels. From little Doom Guy figures to upgrades for weapons, health, ammo and armour, there's plenty hidden away to keep you occupied if waging a one-man war against hell isn't enough for you. I don't want this review to become a hatchet piece constantly taking jabs at Doom 3 because, well, for one thing, this isn't a review of Doom 3, what with it coming out in 2004, and therefore falling well outside this channel's arbitrarily selected timeframe, but also because I do still quite enjoy it. But let's face it, it isn't exactly a visual treat. Doom, however, relishes in being as vibrant and unapologetically brutal as it can be. While it doesn't retain any of the classic Doom visuals, what with it being almost 30 years later, there is a definite family resemblance there. It does lean more towards the original two titles rather than Doom 3, but there are similarities, especially where the enemy design is concerned. The environments are a vast improvement on the previous entry in the series too, with plenty of detail put into every nook and cranny, whether you're on the Mars base or in Hell itself. Doom revels in dropping you right into a truly gory hellscape. The particle effects help add to the overall atmosphere of the game too. Once again, whether you are in Hell, you're on the surface of the Red Planet, or in one of the many structures the UASC have thrown up around the surface in their bid to mine Hell dry for the benefit of all mankind, the atmosphere is very much a hellish one. As previously mentioned, the glory kills allow you, the player, to get up close and personal with every single monster Doom throws at you. From the low-level infected to Hell Knights to each of the game's bosses, get up close, click in your right thumbstick, and you are treated to some of the most impressive and visceral kills you will most likely have ever seen. And while they aren't necessarily played for laughs, it does lean more towards the ridiculous, giving the game's visuals a little extra flair. Doom easily has one of the best soundtracks to any game released in the last few years, and that is a tradition that goes back right to the start of the series. And if you are a fan of metal, let's face it, you're going to fucking love this soundtrack. Brutal and pounding, whether you're moving from section to section or fighting off multiple waves of the denizens of Hell, the soundtrack truly drives the action along at breakneck pace. As for sound effects and ambient noise, there's plenty on offer here too. Each monster is distinct and you can generally tell what you have coming up around the corner, and each area itself, you are just treated to this horrible feeling with the sound going on in the background. Most people will tell you there isn't a story to Doom, and that, frankly, isn't a fair assessment. There is a decent narrative being told throughout the game, but you have to put in the effort to find it and follow it, as it's mainly told through holograms that are entirely optional. Like when they activate, you can just wander off and do your own thing. You don't need to pay attention to them. Or from activating obelisks in Hell, both of which help to flesh out the game's backstory and lore very effectively, but entirely skippable if you aren't really fussed about sticking around. The only misstep is that lack of a gratifying ending. Doom pulls a Halo 2 on you and sort of just ends, which is fine now that Doom Eternal's available, but when I first finished Doom on Switch, I was sat on a train and just was like, well, what do I do now? I was hoping for something so much more substantial. I've never really been a fan of video game cliffhangers, as I feel like after not only investing the money and on top of that a substantial amount of time working towards finishing a game, it always feels like a cop-out when the rug gets pulled out from under my feet like this. Still, now I've played this again, I definitely need to get around to actually playing Doom Eternal, if for nothing more than to find out if the story comes to a satisfying conclusion. There isn't a hell of a lot left to say about Doom, really. It does feel like a return to form from one of the developers that was instrumental in not just changing the landscape of gaming, but helping to lay the foundations for what gaming would become. Doom feels simultaneously like an homage and something fresh, having a foot in both the past and the future. As someone who first experienced first-person shooters because of id and Doom, I am so happy that I get to experience this game whenever I want to, because let's face it, who doesn't love a bit of ultra-violent hellbeast ass-kicking once every so often? So, if you've enjoyed this video, there are plenty of ways for you to help out the channel. You can hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification icon to stay updated whenever videos like this one get uploaded. And you can also follow 5 Year Rewind Review on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated there too. Thanks for sticking around, and I will see you next time.